Sega just dropped Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition, and it is anything but definitive. It's much more accurate just to call it a Switch 2 edition, because that's basically what it is. So after multiple leaks that basically confirmed the game's existence, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition was finally shadow dropped for the series' 35th anniversary. And when you hear the words Definitive Edition, there's a few things you'd probably expect. As an example, Xenoblade Chronicles has a definitive edition on Switch, and not only is it a complete remake of the original Wii game, but also has plenty of gameplay changes, quality of life features, and even a new story campaign that follows up from the original story. It's easy to see why it's called the Definitive Edition. But for Sonic Frontiers, there's nothing really definitive about this new version. It's just a Switch 2 port of the original game with barely any changes. The definitive part is only the convenient inclusion of a few things. The free DLC expansions are pre-installed, some bonus items like the Adventure 2 shoes and Monster Hunter stuff are also included, and a digital art book and mini soundtrack are bundled in. But those aren't new items, they've been available with the original game for free as DLC, at least on the PC version. And the digital art book and mini soundtrack are just from the digital deluxe versions of the original game. And at the price of $50, you're effectively buying the digital deluxe version of the game. The original version on other platforms has actually dropped its price from $60 down to $40, with the digital deluxe versions being $50. So essentially, your only option on Switch 2 is to buy the digital deluxe version. You can't buy the game at $40 like the other systems, you have to pay for the extra content. And there's no upgrade path or discount for owners of the Switch 1 version. So if you bought the original Switch 1 version at launch, which was $60, you effectively have to buy the game again at $50 if you want those Switch 2 improvements. It's even more confusing since Definitive Edition can transfer your Switch 1 save file to the Switch 2 version, but for some reason an upgrade path wasn't made for the port. If there is one thing I can praise the Switch 2 version for, it's the fix to the game's pop-in. Apparently, it has the best render distance out of all consoles for the floating platforms, so they don't show up or disappear as closely as they did before. But that's the only thing they've changed. They didn't change or fix anything else as far as I know. And even then, the pop-in fixes don't apply to the grass, so the opening shot of Kronos still looks pretty bad. I appreciate the fact that they did something though. It's just too bad that modders have already fixed the pop-in for the PC version about 3 years ago, even with better results than the Switch 2 version if you've got the proper specs. But even ignoring mods, it still doesn't make the Switch 2 version the definitive edition, simply because the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X versions are clearly better in terms of graphical fidelity and performance. The PS5 and Series X versions can render in 4K at 30 FPS, or around 1800p at 60 FPS. The PC version can run at any resolution up to 8K at 60 FPS, assuming you have the specs to run it. The Switch 2 version only renders in 1080p at 30 FPS or 720p at 60 FPS. It's nice that the Switch 2 can run at 60 FPS at all, but it's still not the definitive version. And this is just a guess on my end, but I'm pretty sure the Switch 2 could have hit a higher resolution. The Switch 2 version of Sonic Racing Crossworlds was able to hit 1440p at 60 FPS, so I feel like it should have been possible to hit at least 1080p at 60 FPS for Frontiers. I guess it just wasn't optimized enough to make that possible. Either way, Sonic Frontiers Definitive Edition is not very definitive. Its additions are already included with the original game via DLC, the fix to pop-in has already been available with PC mods, and even in terms of resolution, it's not the best option. What's even worse is that the physical cartridge is a game keycard, which defeats the entire purpose of having the DLC included anyways because you still have to download all of it. If anything, it's probably the best option for portable play, since the Switch 1 version is severely compromised and playing on the Steam Deck is either equal or worse than the Switch 2 version. But if you're not interested in portability, the PS5 and Series X versions are the best for consoles, and the PC is practically the true definitive edition thanks to mods that can fix some of the game's issues. Honestly, if they just named this the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, there wouldn't be as much backlash, because calling this definitive is insanely misleading. There's still a lot of easy fixes that could have made this the definitive version though. The janky scripting, the misaligned hitboxes, the frame rate issues, the stiff cyberspace controls, any patches to address these would have made this much more deserving of its definitive status, but all we got is the bare minimum. It's disappointing, but honestly not very surprising. If you haven't bought Frontiers yet, Definitive Edition is not the best option. The Series X, PS5, or PC versions are much better choices, and if you're on PC, mods can actually fix more of the game and give you a better experience. But if your only option is the Switch 2, it's a decent port of the original game, just not the definitive version.